Welcome, everyone, to another Topics with Tim podcast. I'm your host, Tim Giorso. I'm joined by a very special friend of mine, Mr. Armeen Edamad, right? Am I saying it right?
Perfect. Hi, everyone.
Edamad. Got it. Armeen, how are you doing today, man? How's quarantine life for you?
It's going well. Getting better and better every day. Starting to develop habits, work-life balance, and just trying to stay healthy and happy throughout everything that's going on in the world right now. What about yourself?
Well, quarantine life is I think it's going pretty well, mainly because I have so much time for all these podcasts, which is really awesome. I have guests lined up for this next week, 2 or 3 guests already scheduled in.
Wow.
If you're watching this right now and you want to be on a podcast with me, I would love to have you on. I truly believe that every person has an area of interest that they're passionate about and knowledgeable about that other people want to know about. Other people want to hear what you have to share because you have a knowledge base. You have something that drives you as a passion, and you have something that you study and research every day. We all have different things. Some may say fantasy basketball is a waste of time. But on the contrary, I say it is the best use of my time I could possibly use because it makes me happy. So there's something out there that makes you happy, and I would love to hear about it. So if you want to get on a pod, please message me, and I can schedule you in. Because you got time, I got time. Let's just chat and do a pod together. Anyway, back to Armeen. Armeen, I kind of wanted to start off by kind of talking about how we got to know each other because we've been friends for quite a long time. Me and this guy used to kick butt on the soccer field together.
That's right.
What are your earliest memories of our first soccer greatness?
So one of my first memories of Tim is that we used to play together on the same recreational soccer team back in 8th grade. We had practices going on in the fall, and this is usually around the same time where school starts too. So in August, we're training. We end up being in the same PE class, and one of the first things that we do in PE is a team building exercise where we find a teammate and we do a 3-legged relay. I think we did like a scenic, it was called back in Carnegie Middle School.
Scenic run.
Yeah,
I remember
it was a scenic run. So we decided to team up just because we were soccer teammates and just chatted the whole time about everything: soccer, basketball, football, all the sports that we love. And eventually we ended up really bonding through that soccer team. I still have a lot of friends from that team that I keep in touch with. And we went out and just hammered everyone in that league. We wound up in the first division. We ended up beating one of our other fantasy team participants, Sahand, Folsom Jets.
Yeah,
they had a 2 or 3.
Beat those Folsom kids too. Those Folsom kids needed a
Oh yeah, they were cocky going in. They were having their little celebrations, giving gift cards for goal scored. Don't think I didn't notice that, but we broke their 2-year streak of winning, so that felt good. And then we ended up going to the district cup. We played this really stacked Natomas team and ended up losing, finishing second in the group. So we didn't advance there, but it was a lot of fun. I ended up playing on many other teams with Tim. The most notable, other than that one, was a U19 team that we played on. We were 16 at the time. We were playing with guys who were off going on to college, like Tim's brother Nate, one of our former fantasy members as well. That team was a lot of fun as well. We had a nice little run at District Cup too. I think we won one of our games, but it was fantastic. And ever since, we've played fantasy together, fantasy ball specifically, and kept in touch. So.
And we, of course, run into each other at the gym every month or so.
For better or worse.
It doesn't even matter the gym, too. It's at different gyms that we've literally just been like,
That's right. Planet Fitness, I think, Fitness 19, and then finally CalFit now. So we're all over.
Yep.
We'll see you at a gym, too, probably, hopefully soon.
Oh, gosh, I know. I was talking to Armeen earlier about it's killing me not having a gym to go to. I'm not a home workout guy. I'm a go to the gym guy because I feed off. I mean, you were saying, like, we feed off the energy from other people in the gym, too.
Yeah.
Because we're like, hey, like, they're doing it. We got to do it. Doing it at home by yourself is just – I don't know if maybe I'm just more extroverted in that way where I sort of need that. But just doing it by myself at home sucks, man. I hate it.
It definitely does. Sometimes I'll be doing, like, a push-up set, and after, like, 1 or 2, I'll just forget that I'm doing it. just because I'm going to go run an errand, just because I'm going to go see what's on TV. So there's just way too many distractions at home. Hopefully you guys are able to get your hands on some gym equipment and are able to get creative. That's all I got to say on that.
My mom actually, funny story. Well, not funny, I guess. So she had an old person fall recently and actually broke the bone in her forearm here. So she had to get a bike, like a workout exercise bike that she uses in the backyard from some people. But then the battery died on that. So she's really struggling because she's works out twice a day, every day. Or tennis. So she's having a rough go with the quarantine already happening and her being a teacher and now having to do everything from home. And then on top of that, now she breaks her arm and now she can't go to the gym at all anymore.
Oh, no.
She's still hanging in there. She's tough. She's still kicking butt. But I can see it in her eyes that she wants this to be over as much as anyone else, and she wants to heal so she can do her stuff again.
It can only get better for her from here on out, basically. Yeah. There's nothing. Yeah, knock on wood. That hopefully it's the end of it.
I'm gonna knock on someone right now. Yeah, I love our old soccer teams. I think you played forward mainly, correct? Or you were more midfield. I can't remember.
I remember that year in 8th grade, I was more of a forward. As with a lot of soccer players, as their skills deteriorate, they move back and back. So I find myself playing defense a lot now.
What does that say for me? That I've always been a defender. What does that say for me?
No, so you upgraded. You went from defense to midfield to sometimes playing forward now. So now we both primarily play midfield, if I remember correctly, when we were older.
Yes.
But yeah,
I have fallen in love with the outside mid position. And what's funny is I used to hate that position so much because, and I think I know why I hated it, is because early on in my soccer years, you don't really play soccer and playing in rec leagues as well. People don't really know how to play soccer. And so the edges of the field, which should be honestly the most utilized parts of the dang field, are the most underutilized parts of the dang field because everyone wants to ram it up the middle. And so I hated being an outside mid because I would just stood and watched everyone else play for a game. But now I love it because when I play with good teams, we know how to use the edges of the field and we know. And so I just get to sprint up and down the field just being like, yo, send me.
It's a lot of running. Yeah. You got this.
There's a lot of sprinting, which is I enjoy sprinting.
Like I said, you got better over time. I wasn't so fortunate.
No,
that's why I got into refereeing.
I remember we were playing rec. No, not rec. We were playing pickup one day. And I remember you had I had like a sick. I don't know if you crossed it to me or I crossed it to you. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
It was at Folsom at Kent Park. We were playing on the half field in the middle of the summer. You sent the perfect curled corner kick. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I didn't want to head the ball for whatever reason, and I just lifted my leg up and one touch kicked it right in the top corner. It just felt like being on that team again with you. Like I just felt that same chemistry and connection. Yeah.
I remember too, I was just like, yes, Armeen put that in. Like, oh, let's go, dude. Oh, I loved it. Hopefully we'll be back to doing that here pretty soon because I want to get back.
Yep, hopefully in the summer.
Yeah, we had great times on the soccer field. I was mainly a defender. That's more of my main position. But yeah, I did kind of, as time went on, I love playing kind of more forward positions now. Defense, I'm bored back there. I'm like, get me out of here. Bored. But I did it for a while. That was good. So let's talk fantasy, since I know that a lot of our members are probably watching this right now. And you were actually one of our founding members, Armeen.
That's right.
I think, was it our senior year of high school that we started our fantasy league? That's what I
want to say. Yeah, senior year of high school. We decided we were talking about fantasy football a lot. And then we just had an idea, I think, during a passing period. Hey, why don't we try fantasy basketball? Since none of us had really played it that much. And we created a 5-team league.
I thought we've gotten like at least 10 or 8 or something. No,
our very first one was only 5, and it was a rotisserie league, from what I remember.
I could have sworn we got more though.
Did you? Okay.
Because I remember the rotisserie league. And I remember it being like 1 through 10 as like,
right.
If you were first in that category, you got 10 points. So I think we did manage to get 10, but I'm pretty sure they were a bunch. The only people that were trying were you, me, Tyler, Blake.
All the guys that went to high school together, yeah.
So we had other people in the league, I'm pretty sure. Like, I know my brother was in it as well,
Yep.
but I don't think any of the other people really tried other than us 5.
Yeah. It was Nate, you, Tyler, and Blake, and myself were the ones, the core 5. Now the core
Well,
4.
yes, the core 4. My brother was. Let's not talk about that. It's a sore subject.
Oh no.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Me and my brother, when it comes to fantasy, it has not worked out well. It's not a good thing. So we'll just let that rest in the past. So
Okay.
senior year of high school, we started this fantasy league, and it's been this is our 10th, 11th year now. I think 11th.
Yeah. Going into 11.
11th year, and we love it. So we look forward to it every year. We have a lot more members now. A lot of members have come and gone, but we love what we have now. I love the energy that we have. And Armeen, you've actually brought in a lot of, Zaid and Payam and Sahan. Were your friends first, and you brought them in, and I've enjoyed the energy and the camaraderie that you guys all have. And I love the trash talk, and
It gets wild behind the scenes.
Oh man, I can't imagine. But I'm totally enjoying it. Like the times that we've gone out to eat together as a league, I feel like it's been so much fun just hanging out and messing around and talking trash. It's been awesome. So
yeah,
thank you guys.
Hopefully Rock and Fire don't kick us out. Shout out to them. They're always good sports. They love having us, and their manager is fantastic. Hopefully we get a chance to go back very soon.
So let's talk a little bit, Armeen here. I know you wanted to sort of announce maybe to the league something.
Right. So
in the future here, we'll see if there's
during our second year in the league, I decided to take over as commissioner, and I had a very fun time. Some of you guys might remember the video where I dressed up as David Stern with a Miami Heat jersey under my suit, just to rig the lottery, quote rig. And I brought in the lottery for the first time. And I have a lot of fresh ideas, and I've been talking to a lot of people, and I'd like to officially announce that I will be running for the open co-commissioner position that is going to be taking place for next season, 2020-2021. Vote for me, guys. A lot of you guys know me, some of you don't. I have a couple fresh ideas. One of them is to address, one of them I'll reveal now. Tim already knows it.
Oh, okay.
So this is a hot take. I want to address a lot of the tanking that was going on at the end of the season. Now, I have nothing against it. It was very strategic with the rules we had in place. I believe Zaid and Shaheen, shout out to them, they won a championship last year by dropping from the 3 seed to the 4 seed to have an easier side of the bracket. It just creates a lot of commotion and a lot of teams undeservedly moving up and down around the standings at the end of the season. So I think what would be cool is to take an idea that baseball is thinking about proposing, having the top seed in each playoff round pick their opponent. So that means you're incentivized for the entire season to do your best, because that's huge. Being able to pick your opponent. Now, it could backfire. There's always injuries. There's always more favorable matchups, and you never know what could happen.
Are you saying like there would be no bye week, but if you got one of those top 2 seeds, then you could the benefit would be you don't get a bye week, but you get to choose the opponent you want to play. Is that?
Or so depending on the number of teams we have, I think let's assume we still have 12 teams going forward next year. 1 and 2 still get their buys. Number 3 gets to choose their opponent. And then whoever's left plays each other. And then same thing with the semifinal. Number 1 gets to choose their opponent. Just adding an extra incentive to be those top teams, I think, is something that would eliminate the tanking going on at the end of the season and make sure, whoever's deserving of those spots gets in.
I like that idea. I do like that idea.
That's one of my ideas. I have a couple others that I'm saving. So I just want to run on that platform for now.
Anyway, we just want to congratulate Blake Richardson on having a child. We know that he will be very busy. So I don't know for 100% certain whether or not he will be the co-commissioner or not. We haven't actually talked about that. But if he doesn't, because he's got a kid now and a full-time job, so understandable, then we definitely, I would love to, I've always enjoyed having a co-commissioner because I don't like running it by myself. I don't necessarily like being the sole decision maker of things. I like to spread it out as much as possible because I think it's more fun when we all, as a league, decide things and there's more a democratic process, if you will. Because I've been in leagues where there's one commissioner that just rules over everything, and I found I don't like that because they, you can just do things because you want to, and with no one to say no. And I don't know. I want us all as a league to move forward together on things and not just be just me making decisions. So love to have
Totally
a
agree.
co-commissioner. If you're interested in that positioning as well, then let me know. Maybe you can beat out Armeen here. But I don't know. That's a pretty good idea, Armeen. I do like that. I'd be definitely
Thank you.
willing to try it out. I love trying things out just to see, because it's only 1 year and it's not super drastic. So yeah, let's try it out. And if it doesn't work, you scrap it. If it's great, then you keep going with it. So I love trial and error when it comes to things, which is why I love trying all the different categories that we're doing. I know not everyone
Right.
has been a huge fan of that, but I really love that because we can see which one's the most fun. And eventually we can kind of narrow down 2 or 3 that we love that we can just rotate through that we all enjoy. But until
I
we try
believe
them, we won't know whether or not we like them or not because we haven't tried them. So
I believe that too. And I think one of them, or the 11th category, is up for vote this year, since we went through the 3 that we had voted on 3 years ago. So this is the time for people to bring in more ideas, fresh new categories. Is there any that
fouls,
are on the top of your mind that you're
fouls.
looking at? Fouls?
I would love to try fouls.
Ooh,
I think that would be fascinating because we
that's
just
a fun
did a
one.
league where adjusted field goal percentage basically gave the big men were like super valued. I feel like the fouls will do the opposite. It'll now value your guards who aren't, getting in the paint as much and aren't creating as many fouls. So I think we could, change the value of the players again, kind of change it up, and then just kind of see. I think fouls would be just a fascinating kind of category, an interesting way to root when you're like, no, don't go for why'd you just let him have the layup? Don't it just it's worth trying, and if we never do it again, then that's fine. But I'd love to at least give it a
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, we could put up for a vote. Why not?
So
I'd like to hear what everyone else also has in mind too as an 11th cat. I think
there's
that'd
multiple
be
more
interesting.
categories that we have not tried. I think I'm curious what your favorite out of the new categories we've tried. What's been your favorite so far?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd have to say steal to turnover has been my favorite, just because it's something that was completely fresh, and a lot of those fringe like hustler players like the Kent Bazemores of the world became really valuable in our league that year. Um, and I think those guys are just undervalued in general, the way we look at the NBA. So it was good to like hunt for those players and also see them in action, sometimes off the ball when I'm watching my player play. Um, Seeing like what kind of effect they have on the game. Like they're very efficient, they're playing hard-nosed defense, they're coming on double teams, helping their teammates out. So just increase my knowledge of the game. And I definitely want to give that category a try again sometime down the line. What about you? What
I
was your favorite category so far?
I think my favorite, and I'm only saying this probably because there's a little bit of bias because it's the year that I won in 2017,
Mm,
was 3-point percentage. I really
okay.
like 3-point percentage. I thought it added an extra like angst when I'm watching a game and I see my guy pull up for 3. I'm like, oh man, it's just there's an extra umph in that 3-pointer. It's not just like, oh, if they miss it, who cares? Because I'm only getting credit for if he makes it or not. But now the fact that he's taking it, I could be hurt if he misses that. So it added like this extra angst if he missed, but there's also this extra like, oh yes, he nailed that 3, like excitement, because now you're getting the 3-pointer made and you're improving that percentage. And it also, in the same way you said, it kind of helped you see some players differently.
That's right.
I was forced to look into, well, who shoots the 3 ball the best? And it opened my eyes to kind of these more efficient shooters at the 3 ball. And I like players that are efficient with it. I don't like guys who just jack it up because you're told to do that nowadays. It bugs the crap out of me. Russell Westbrook, come on, bud, stop taking 3-pointers, dude. Like I don't get it. Stop. But that was so cool because it, like I said, opened my eyes to a new kind of statistic and helped me see some players' value that I was like, oh wow. So I still, when I'm evaluating, especially in my dynasty league, when I'm evaluating, one of the things I'm always looking at is 3-point percentage, because some of these guys who haven't played much, there's not a lot you can evaluate because they just haven't played a lot. But if they're making a good percentage of their threes, that's always a good sign that they're probably going to stick. They're probably going to get playing time because it's so desirable nowadays.
Especially with the game, like you said, especially with the way the game is evolving now. Even big men have some decent 3-point percentages. So I guess it is a stat that we could look into as well, just because now compared to when we had it in 2016, 17, it's just become much more broad. Big men and small guys have that capability to knock down the three.
Yeah, I would definitely want to do that. And I really love steals to turnover as well. I would love to do that one again as well. I totally agree with you. It just changed the dynamic. You're like seeing guys on the waiver wire, like, I would never pick this guy up. But dude, this guy doesn't turn it over and he's getting steals. Crap. I have to get this
Matisse Thybulle would have been astronomical in that format.
Oh my gosh. Like Jonathan Isaac would be amazing. Who are the other big steal guys who don't turn it over? Otto Porter.
PJ Tucker
was healthy. PJ, you're right. He's like, no turnovers. There'd be some. What other studs would there be? DeJounte Murray, maybe, although he's kind of a guard.
Yep.
Turns it over a little bit, but still, he steals enough.
Not enough, yeah.
He totally scored. He got me through into the semis of my Dynasty League because he had 7 steals one game. And I was like, yes.
Wow.
It came through at the clutch the last day. So that was awesome. Thank you, DeJounte Murray. So, Armeen, let's alter course here. Tell me a little bit about when did you first start liking basketball? Were you first interested? Did you play it at the beginning? Did you follow it? How did that all work out for you?
Actually, growing up, my number one sport was soccer, and I came from a soccer family, but that was only during the fall. I had to find something else to do in the wintertime and in the spring. So that's when I got into just playing basketball. I had a hoop in my backyard. I think Zaid mentioned when he was little, he had one of those small hoops. And I remember when friends would come over, we were like 8, 9, 10 years old. We'd have these intense rivalries where we're keeping score, knocking each other around. This is playing indoor basketball on one of those like little Tykes hoops. So we got pretty intense with those. We would argue. So that's where I got into playing the sport. Actually watching it was, I think, just age-wise, I matched up perfectly with like the Kings having their good runs. I didn't get to go to a game until 2004 just because Arco Arena was always sold out, and we had to drive over to Oracle to see them in action against the Warriors.
That sounds weird to say, by the way. Arco Arena was sold out. To me, that just sounds like the crazy at the time, but during that time, it was sold out.
It was near impossible to get tickets. So that definitely sparked my passion for the game, was just seeing the Kings, Jason Williams, Chris Webber, Stojakovic, all those guys. It was just a lot of fun. It was just good, clean, fun basketball, a lot of passing, a lot of movement. And that excited me too. So that's where I got into the sport.
Okay, so those early Kings inspired you to play or just to follow the NBA more, or both?
The early Kings inspired me to follow and keep up with playing too. Like just with friends in the park, not necessarily on a team or anything, but just trying to mimic like a lot of what the players did. Some of the Jason Williams passes, or for me, it was hitting those long threes. I still remember the first day I finally hit a 3-pointer, and it was in a pickup game, and my friends were like, don't shoot it. And I just drained it back in 3rd grade on a double rim hoop in the park. So just emulating those players, that was definitely inspired me to keep up with the sport.
Yes. Those Kings, man, they were something. They were a true team, right? Not a lot of stars. Maybe Weber was. You could say Weber was a star, all-star.
That's about it.
But a team, man. One of the last real teams in the NBA we've had. Because now, from then on, that point, it's just all been big threes and big twos, and now it's just like, hey, you want to join a team together? Sure, Kevin. Let's go join the Nets. Okay, hey, you want to join a team? Sure, LeBron, let's team up with Wade. Now there's no more real teams anymore. It's kind of more. Although I think the Bucks are kind of like because they've got obviously the superstar in Giannis, but everybody else is, I think, mostly players and like they have like a real team as opposed to everyone. Hey, let's team up kind of thing. So
I see that too in them. Is small market. new arena, a lot of excitement from that fan base. Very strategic coach. I don't think he gets down the depth chart either that much, like Rick Adelman would. So I see a lot of similarities, just different era and different strategy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love asking this question to people because I think it just gives you good insight into who you think you are, who you actually are.
Uh,
You know what I mean? So you gotta give me your NBA player comparison, and you gotta give me a realistic one too. I know a lot of people just want to be like,
okay.
well, I'm James Harden. Oh, gosh, I mean, that just
I'm
means
definitely not one of the superstars, I'd say. Even when I'm playing pickup now, many, many years later, I'd say I'm one of the role players. I think Nemanja Bjelica is a good one, just because I
okay.
can I can hold my own. Uh, I can play decent defense. I can set decent screens. I can occasionally pop a three here and there. Pretty crafty with like my passing. Same with any sport I play. So I'd say he's definitely my closest comparison. Maybe PJ Tucker as well for stamina
Okay.
and his tenacity as well. He's usually undersized, but he's very versatile. He can play the 3 through 5. So if you mash those two players, it'd be me.
PJ Tucker, Nemanja Bjelica. So you must have that. You must have the killer pump fake then, right?
Oh yeah,
So that just pump and then
I can
drive.
fake people out. I remember that was actually when I was younger. That was one of the first things I learned is to pump people out on the three and then take a couple dribbles and pass it off. So
It blows my mind when
right
I
on the
watch
spot.
Bjelica play how you know what he's going to do. He's either going to jack a three from long range or he's going to pump fake and do some like crafty drive where he's not fast enough to really beat anybody, but somehow he's got enough size to kind of like, I guess, kind of keep you at bay to where he can get up a decent look, you know?
Yeah, he
every time I
doesn't
see him,
seem like a basketball player.
he'll pump, he'll drive, and immediately I go, oh, he didn't beat the guy. The guy like got into position, but maybe because it's just his size and his craftiness,
Yeah.
he still somehow like maneuvers to score. And I'm like, how did he score? He was clearly beaten the defender easily, like into the spot, but he still somehow kind of, you know, used his body to the crafty European players, man.
Oh
They
yeah,
they know what they're doing.
they're fun to watch.
So I'm gonna remember that, Mr. Bjelica.
Are you still Patrick Beverly, or have you found another comparison since the last podcast?
I feel like I'm more. This is really humbling to say, and maybe I'm better than this because I think I am better than this. But I feel like Matthew Dellavedova is kind of more of a realistic comparison.
I can see that.
He's not the greatest shoot. Like I can hit the threes every now and then, and my shot is improving a lot. But I am more of what I like about Delly. I feel like he's a winner. You know, he'll do the little things. You know, he'll be the one kind of dogging the other team's guard and just messing with him the whole time. He'll be the guy setting screens. He'll be the guy like, you know, taking screens, sacrificing his body. So he like when he's on the floor, your team's doing better
Oh,
because he'll just
absolutely.
make the winning plays. And so that's why I feel like the way I am is I don't always have a lot of stats to show, but I feel like when I'm on the court, I'm really good at knowing what the team needs and being able to adapt to it. So if I know, oh wow, we don't really have anyone who wants to play as a big man, okay, I'll play as a big man. Or if we have too many big men, okay, I need to be a guard who's going to space the floor. Okay, that's what I'll do. Oh wow, no one's setting screens, which is most pickup games. I'll go
Right.
set some screens to open things up. So, and I think I love just running off of screens. I love running around. So whoever just runs around the most, maybe who's like a player that just runs around a crap ton, like a little energizer.
Buddy Hield.
Okay, that's true. Well, I can't shoot near as well as that guy.
Yeah,
But
minus the shooting.
so I'm Buddy Hield minus the shooting. Like I will just run the entire game and not get tired because I just love running around. So I'll just run around screens. I'll run around. I'll do whatever and run and just play really hard defense. So yeah,
I'll be sure to utilize that
maybe
next time we're on the
Beverly just
same
not
team.
as dirty. You know, not quite.
Yeah, either player without the gray borderline dirtiness, I could see you fitting into that category for sure.
Or maybe TJ McConnell is the other guy that comes to mind. Kind of a savvy, likes to
Okay.
pass, make the winning plays. You know, like I like that guy a lot. All right, Bjelica. So tell me what your favorite year, your best favorite / best year of fantasy basketball you've ever had. Tell me the team that you had. If you remember what the category was, maybe that we had that was different, and why it was such a great year for you.
I definitely have to say my best year was 2016-17. And that was the year I played you in the final. We had 3-point percentage as the category, so it was
What? Go ahead. Sorry.
it was definitely a challenge at first, just to locate those guys, familiarize myself. But actually, I ended up having a really good draft. I had the top players I had on my team were Kevin Durant, I drafted first. I had Isaiah Thomas, and I had Paul Millsap, and Otto Porter was another one. I think my team was named Grand Theft Auto for most of the year. So I remember during this year just starting off gunning out of the gate. I think I won 11-1 or 11-0. No, not 11-0. 10-1 and 9-2 for like the first 3 or 4 weeks. And I think after that, I did get a little complacent, which is what you discussed in your last podcast. I was like, okay, well, I'm clearly in the number 1 spot. And at the time I was interning for United Airlines, so I didn't have that much time to check because I was always in different time zones, always on a plane. I just didn't have access to a phone. Kind of the same situation you're in with the flip phone. So not to knock that, but
granted, I will say you would have had a rougher time because that was before we put in the rule about how we do auctions at night. So you were at a more disadvantage because if news broke, someone could just add somebody right away. You'd have no idea. At least for me, I know we're going to do an auction that night, so I would have time to put in the bid whenever I got her on a phone or a computer, which is why we changed that rule. It's because we wanted to make it more fair for people who are busy and have stuff to do that they can still have a chance at players. So you were even at more disadvantage than I. So
that's a fair point too. So yeah, I remember just cruising along after that. Like I remember players were being added, just like you said in your last pod, and then saying like, wow, why did I miss that? I don't have any examples that come to mind just because it was 3 years ago. But so what happened afterwards was that my players started getting injured. The curse hit me before it hit you. The infamous curse.
Yeah, you passed it along to me, Armeen.
It started out
5 years.
5 years? No, I'm hoping it was just that 1 week. And once we get back to start playing basketball again, all those players will be healed, which looks like that's going to be the likely outcome. Anyway, KD went down first. It was the incident where Zaza barreled into his knee. And for about 2 or 3 days, they were unsure of whether it was an ACL tear or meniscus. Either way, it didn't matter because he was going to be out minimum 8 weeks. So that meant the entire fantasy season. Usually when you lose your number 1 pick, that's it. But I had such a good supporting cast that Isaiah Thomas was on a fringe MVP year that year.
Oh, yeah.
I think averaging like 29 points, 7 assists. His 3-point percentage was insane, over 40%. I had Otto Porter, who had his breakout year. He was shooting over 40%. And Paul Millsap, probably his last good season, where he was averaging a steal and a block, 17 and 8, getting double-doubles here and there. Those are my top players that come to mind. I'm sure I had other role players filling in too for the lost stats that Durant had. And I was so far ahead that it didn't really make much of a difference. I still finished as the number 1 seed. But then going into the playoffs, during my bye week, Isaiah Thomas goes down with that infamous hip injury that altered his career.
Yep.
Paul Millsap was healthy all year. Finally, the injury bug hits him. So I had to store him in my IR, even though he was day-to-day for a while. And I ended up playing Zayd in the second round in the semifinals. It was a very tough, close matchup. I remember I just had to scrape by relying on the 3-point shooting. And he did get very unlucky. I remember in the last matchup, the last day of the matchup, I was playing against Kawhi Leonard, and I was like, okay, well, this guy is a fantastic 3-point shooter. I need something out of this. And I remember just refreshing my phone every 2 seconds, like, please, Kawhi, miss some threes. He starts the game 0-5 from 3. I'm like, are you sure? I was like, is this Kawhi or is this Trevor Ariza? Like, I'm just like refreshing, making sure I didn't look at my own player. So yeah, Kawhi ends up breaking. He goes like 1 for 8 from 3 or something like that. And I end up winning that matchup. So then my injury depleted team is going on to the final to play Tim, who had made some fabulous pickups, I got to add. like Nikola Mirotic, who shot 67% from three that week. It was just insane. Nothing like I've seen before. Another player that comes to mind is Devin Booker. His infamous, 72-point game?
70
happened during that week. And I just got murdered in that final, 8-3. Hats off to Tim. He had a fantastic team, and he deserved it. If I'm going to lose, this is the way I want to lose, just no doubt in my mind. I don't want to lose closely. Like what happened to you last year. I want to get killed, so there's no doubt in my mind that I didn't deserve it.
It's true. I remember.
That's my story of my best season, and hoping to finally get my first ring sometime soon. It's been tough, going toe-to-toe with guys like you, Tyler, and Blake, who are fantasy gurus in my mind.
I appreciate that. That means a lot, Armeen. Yes, that was, man, I remember watching that game live with my friend Kyle, and we were watching Booker, and it was like, oh my God. Like, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Even the Boston crowds, I think, gave him like a round.
Yeah. At that point, you're not even thinking about fantasy. You're just admiring what's unfolding beneath your eyes.
It was beautiful. I admit that because we had that conversation about injuries, and I have gotten incredibly lucky over my span of fantasy years where I remember the year that I went to the finals against Ben, the reason I got to the finals was because I think Nikola Jokic for Brent sat out for being sick. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even
remember that.
Him. So you're right. Maybe it's my time finally for my luck to change with all these injuries happening, because I've gotten incredibly lucky. Granted, I feel like I do manage my risk well with the players I draft, but still, I've gotten incredibly lucky. And sometimes it just swings that way, where you can't overcome. It's not as bad as fantasy football, to where one injury is completely screwed.
Like that.
You still have time to recover, which is, I love that you still have a chance. But it is, when you have multiple injuries to top picks, it's kind of like, that's fantasy, it's kind of over for you. So,
yeah.
But it was a great matchup, and like I said, I love having you in the league, Armeen, and you will get that ring. I promise, it will come.
Oh yeah, I'm not giving up. Just like I didn't.
Never give up, never surrender. Just keep putting in the work. It'll come. I'll lend you one of my rings for a little bit. You can get
I don't want
it. So I would love to quickly, if you kind of want to summarize, what is it that you like about fantasy basketball? What value do you feel like it brings to you? And yeah, that's it.
So for me, I'd say the most value that it brings to me is honestly keeping in touch with everyone. I think we were supposed to have our high school reunion this year. I mean, it looks like it's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that too.
But honestly, I don't need it, because I still keep in touch with a bunch of you guys that I'm still I consider close friends from high school. And I look forward to it. I mean, it gives us a reason. For a lot of the guys in our league, life sometimes gets in the way. There's other obligations. We live out of town from each other. Sometimes I lived 3 years in the Bay Area, for example, so I wasn't running into you at the gym as often as I do now. So I think it's just a fantastic way to keep a good group of guys who love the same thing all together. So that's my reason for playing the sport, playing the fantasy sport. But my favorite part in particular, since you and Zayd got into real specifics, is definitely the draft. It's almost like a holiday for me, in a way. We cook food for each other. 100%. Now we have the big board with the names and the stickers. We go all out, and I just love seeing that effort and that energy, like you were saying this year. When we were done with our draft, we were jumping up and down, saying outlandish things like the Kings making the playoffs, which who knows, it still could happen. But we're always super optimistic at the beginning of the year, and I don't know. It's just something that I really look forward to every year, is getting together, drafting the players, eating a bunch of good food. Shout out to Tim with his healthy, clean cooking every single time he has us all together. So yeah, that'd be it. The draft and keeping everyone together. That's all what it's all about at the end of the day. Bigger than basketball.
Throwing out the bigger than basketball term. Yeah, you got me goosebumps when you're talking, because I totally, seriously, there's Christmas, which is up there as like,
Right.
there's fantasy drafts. Like those are
Oh yeah.
those are my two, like I love fantasy draft season because it means that you get to just get together with people. It means you get to live your dream of being a general manager. Like we are little mini general
Yep.
managers hanging out together, doing a draft, and we get to experience what life would be like if we were, really a general manager. I think it's incredible
It's the
experience.
closest thing to it.
And so it's cool because we do have the community that we've had for a while. And so it's cool. You're right. Like community is so important to playing games like this. Like we just love it because we get to, talk trade and hang out. And I had fantasy drafts man, I look forward to them every year, especially the live drafts. Computer drafts,
yeah.
garbage, absolute garbage. If you have to do it, I get it, but there's nothing like bringing everyone together and getting that atmosphere. Because there's a difference, like when you're behind your computers by yourself and you're like evaluating, and there's a different atmosphere when you're in the room with everybody and you see everyone else kind of studying and looking at things, and it makes you a little nervous because you're like, oh man, are they going to draft my guy that I want?
Yeah.
And there's like a whole different like pressure when you're all together as opposed to just behind your computer screen somewhere, which it's just not as real to you what's going on. I don't know how to describe it that way, but thank you for sharing that. It's awesome.